Hello, my fellow Bromandians. Marcus Sensory has returned once more to bring another character study classroom based around the waifu bait, Yuko Kanoe. Just as a heads up, this video will contain lots of spoilers for the anime Dusk Maiden of Amnesia, so if you haven't seen it, go see it now. The entire show is available in sub on Hulu. Now to start the study. This is a story from back when I didn't know anything about this anime. About a me that I no longer remember. Bromandy is a private island. Its different segments are intertwined after countless extensions to, and modifications of, the channel. All in all, these cobbled together videos hold a few months' worth of culture. Character studies that have become parodies, metaphors that no one ever understood, topics that simply end abruptly, lines of logic as complicated as mazes. All of these have helped to birth many mysterious rumors. Have you heard this one? The rumor about the character study on a character from Dusk Maiden of Amnesia. Apparently a big review is in there somewhere. No matter what happens, when you're listening to that review, don't look at the screen. Overzealous intro aside, this anime is fairly under the radar. Most of the people I've met have only seen this anime because I suggested it to them, and those that watched it on their own seem to have dropped it after a bit due to the fan service that is present in a lot of the episodes. Now don't get confused, I'm not condoning fan service. The anime and character, unlike other anime with fan service, have quality despite the ever-present salacious overtones. Not to spoil anything, but the fan service in this anime could represent something more. One of the first things to keep in mind is that this character, unlike the others reviewed up to this point, is heavily reliant on symbolism. There is a lot to unpack in the symbolic nature of this character, but there is also legitimate quality to the character in regards to her purpose in the story as well. Since I like to finish things with a reference to the anime, I suppose I should address the symbolic nature of the character first. This anime is obviously a romantic comedy with supernatural and vague horror themes throughout. Keeping the romantic comedy setting in mind, this anime is, by nature, making statements on relationships and the feelings expressed within them. Yuko is, in this respect, an incredibly insightful character. Going back to my statement about fanservice in this anime, there is a number of situations in which the anime comments on sexuality and relationships. The main character, Teiichi, is seen across multiple episodes accidentally touching her in places the average female would probably be insulted by, and it is even insinuated that the characters may have had sex at some point. Despite this, however, Yuko is used to put quite an emphasis on emotional connections rather than physical ones. To reinforce this assertion, I would like to refer to the scene in the anime where they hold hands. Usually, Yuko doesn't care what she is touched or what part of her is seen. In the moment when they hold hands, however, an action that is much less sensual and more emotional, she gets embarrassed and turns away from him. Another example of this is when she feeds him the egg for the first time. Comedic purposes aside, it is clear that this is a cultural cliché that represents a couple growing closer, and upon completion of the action, she gets embarrassed and emotional again. These actions are basically revolving around one particular idea. Emotional connections are much deeper and real than physical ones. This idea, coupled with her literally being a ghost, meaning that she has no physical nature, contributes to her symbolic temperament. Moving on from the last topic, the episode where we are introduced to Kire is another accolade for our ephemeral female. In this episode, Yuko represents relationships in which your trust in your significant other is shaken. This scene takes the concept of seeing someone in a different light and portrays it in a very literal fashion. It literally shows Teiichi's view of her change, and all she can do is try to prove to him that she is good and desires his trust in her. This is less symbolic and more a direct commentary on relationships in this situation. While the representation is clear, this gives the character another facet that helps to reinforce her standings in the rankings. Finally, at the end of the anime, we see an interesting development in our lead female character. Yuko, after having gone through divorcing herself from Teiichi on multiple occasions, decides to accept the darker part of herself, which includes such emotions as jealousy, anger, and so on. Providing yet another insight into relationships, it is through the overarching story of the anime that the show portrays its main idea. For a relationship to be truly successful, you have to accept one another wholeheartedly, flaws and all. All things considered, Yuko is a much more formidable contender for the top spot in the character tournament than one might think at a glance. Her Nadeshiko crossed with Genki archetypal influences are clear, but the presence of these influences appear to be no more than a vehicle for moving the story along. Normally this kind of progression could be a downside, but with such symbol-driven writing, I think I can make an exception. An impressive character with a real chance for winning the prize of #1 character among her 9 other competitors. Maybe you'll be interested in the outcome enough to stick around. About a me that I no longer remember. Bromandy. Raggy. Okay.
Horse pussy.
Overzealous intro aside, this anime is fairly... Overzealous intro aside!
Yeah.
Okay. Overzealous intro aside, this anime is fairly under the radar. Dude, most of the people I met have only seen this anime because I suggested it to them.
Takes more than that, kill a review.
Takes more than that to kill a review. Yeah, Pauly Shore. Okay, anyway. Since I like to finish things with a reference to the anime, I suppose I should address the comedic purposes aside. It is clear that this is a cultural cliche. Fuck me, English shit. Okay.
English shit.
English shit.